Hey everyone, welcome to Movie Marathon's HQ, where we do movie marathons connected to new releases and where we enjoy and review some of our favorite movies. This video is part of the Avengers Doomsday Movie Marathon, where we are watching one movie every week as we prepare for the release of Avengers Doomsday in December 2026. Today we are discussing Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Released in 2007 and directed again by Tim Story, this is the second outing of the Fantastic Four, this time being introduced to some elements from the comics that show a larger world of the Fantastic Four. I maintain my unpopular opinion that I have never liked the Fantastic Four. I think their powers are dumb, except the Human Torch, who's pretty cool. But their whole thing about being Marvel's first family has been done better by other teams like the X-Men and the Avengers, who both feel like more of a family to me than the Fantastic Four ever have. So I think they're overrated. Overall, I don't like this movie. I did not like the first Fantastic Four, and this one is probably worse, but it's about the same. They're just both so dull, and there's not a lot going on. Spoiler alert for Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Although I will point out, this is the first time I had ever seen this movie. Because I disliked the Fantastic Four, I wasn't too interested in seeing the first one when it came out, but I did see it. When this one came out, I just had no interest. So I have never seen this until now, so this is another first watch for me in this marathon. For positives, I would mention part of the visual effects, and there's one part of the plot which I think is unique and very Fantastic Four-ish, which I think was nicely done in this movie. For negatives, I would mention the characterization. We talked about the casting last time, but it still maintains. And then the plot, and then the visuals. There are also some further negatives. So the first positive is some of the visual effects are good. I mentioned before that I do like the practical suit for the Thing. I think that looks quite nice for the time. And yes, it would look better with CGI, but the CGI wasn't there at the time to do that kind of a character. So I think if they're going to make it practical, they did quite a good job. So I think the visuals are good. And then we're introduced to the Silver Surfer, voiced by Lawrence Fishburne. And he looks really good. It's a great character design just to be fully metallic and covered in this almost liquid steel thing. And I think he looks really good throughout the movie. There's a few shots that don't look super great, but generally the Silver Surfer visuals look really good. And the use of the powers, there's some good parts for the Fantastic Four characters where the visual effects look pretty good. So that's still a positive. And then another element of this movie that I would say is positive, which is just very comic booky, is there's a point where something happens and then the Fantastic Four, when they touch one another physically, then their character powers swap. And that's very much from the pages of a comic, and I think it's done pretty well. It's pretty fun to see the Thing turn back into Ben Grimm and then to see Johnny Storm be rock covered and stuff. And then they use that towards the end of the movie, showing them teaming up and sharing their powers so they can defeat a greater threat. So it's a kind of classic comic book element, which that part of it I think was well done in this movie. Now for negatives, we talked about the characterization and the casting in our review of Fantastic Four, and all of that is still the case. The characters are all just dull and not very interesting. Chris Evans as Johnny Storm is still the standout, but it just feels like he doesn't know what kind of character he is. And nobody really has acting chops. Julian McMahon comes back as Dr. Doom and is just as forgettable. Even though they give him more to do, he's somehow just as forgettable and doesn't stand out anymore. So just the whole Fantastic Four team doesn't work. They also introduce a marriage subplot, which is great. Get the characters married, but it just doesn't feel like them. None of it is very consistent or congruent with what they established in the first movie. So the characterization and the casting continue to be a big negative. And then another negative continues to be the plot. The plot in the first movie wasn't very intriguing, and the plot in this next one is just as unintriguing. They introduced some military people, including a general who's portrayed by Andre Braugher, who's awesome, but it just is very forgettable. And the Silver Surfer gets introduced, and he's warning that Galactus is coming to destroy the Earth, but it doesn't ever feel like there are any stakes here. It feels like this Silver Surfer isn't a threat. Galactus isn't a threat, although he sounds threatening. Just nothing makes you feel it. So the whole plot's again, very dull. And I found myself willing myself to continue watching this movie because I just didn't care what was happening. And then another negative is the visual effects again. So I mentioned before, it is positive in some ways, but a lot of the visual effects look very bad in this one and worse than in the first. Mr. Fantastic does some stretching that looks very, very bad in this movie. And the Invisible Woman, again, is in her underwear a lot because that's like the only thing that they can think of is when she goes invisible, then all of a sudden she's not wearing clothing. And so it's played for a laugh every time. It's just a tired old trope. And then famously, Galactus, who's a big, massive, larger than a planet sized galactic character, is like this brown cloud that's going to swallow the earth when you see it. And the colors don't look right, and it doesn't even look like it should in the comics. So the visuals are a big letdown in this movie. Now, how might Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer connect to Avengers Doomsday? I don't think there's going to be much connection. Chris Evans, who portrayed the Human Torch in this movie, will return in Avengers Doomsday, but as Captain America. He did come back as this version of the Human Torch in Deadpool and Wolverine, but that character died at the end, so he wouldn't be returning in Avengers Doomsday. And nobody from the cast of this movie is reported to be in the cast of Avengers Doomsday. Although Doctor Doom will play a large part in Avengers Doomsday, of course, I don't think it's going to be this Doom. I don't think there's going to be a Council of Dooms. I don't think they're going to bring back this Doom to interact with Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom in Doomsday. So I don't think there's going to be much connection there at all. So that's my review of Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. What do you think of this movie, and how do you think it might connect to Avengers Doomsday? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. Make sure to follow Movie Marathons HQ on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and also on Letterboxd, where you can see all of the movie marathons that we've done up until this point. The next movie in this marathon is Elektra. See you at the movies!